The UN General Assembly has voted 128 to 9, with 35 abstentions, to adopt a motion rejecting the U.S. decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. That is despite the U.S. president threatening to cut billions of dollars in aid to countries that dared to defy him. Trump had said ahead of the vote that we're watching the outcome, while Nikki Haley, his representative, had warned that the U.S. would be taking names. Scroll down for video. The United Nations General Assembly has voted 128 to 9 to reject Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, despite threats from the president to withdraw aid. Trump has said the U.S. would be watching which side votes were cast on, while Nikki Haley, his representative at the UN, said she would be taking names. The vote, while a victory for the Palestinians, was significantly lower than its supporters had hoped for, with many forecasting at least 150 yes votes. It is noteworthy that 21 countries were absent. Earlier in the day, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan urged countries not to sell out their democratic will in return for petty dollars. Erdogan called on members not to be swayed by Trump's warning and said in a televised speech, "I am calling on the whole world, never sell your democratic will in return for petty dollars." The U.S. decision on December the 6th to recognize the city as Israel's capital broke with international consensus and unleashed protests across the Muslim world, prompting a flurry of appeals to the United Nations. At an emergency session, the UN General Assembly will decide on Thursday on a draft resolution reaffirming that Jerusalem is an issue that must be resolved through negotiations and that any decision on its status has no legal effect and must be rescinded. The measure was sent to the General Assembly after it was vetoed by the United States at the Security Council on Monday, although all other 14 Council members voted in favor. Trump warned that Washington would closely watch how nations voted, suggesting there could even be reprisals for countries that backed the motion, which was put forward by Yemen and Turkey on behalf of Arab and Muslim countries. They take hundreds of millions of dollars and even billions of dollars and then they vote against us, Trump said at the White House. Well, we're watching those votes. Let them vote against us. We'll save a lot, we don't care. Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan, pictured today, has urged countries not to sell out their democratic will in return for petty dollars ahead of a key UN vote on Jerusalem. The U.S. decision on December the 6th to recognize the city as Israel's capital broke with international consensus and unleashed protests across the Muslim world, prompting a flurry of appeals to the United Nations. The draft resolution mirrors the text that was vetoed on Monday, and although it does not mention Trump's decision, it expresses deep regret at recent decisions concerning the city's status. Ahead of the vote, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blasted the UN as a house of lies, saying Israel rejects outright this vote, even before it passes. The attitude to Israel of many nations in the world, in all the continents, is changing outside of the UN walls, and will eventually filter into the UN as well, the house of lies, he said.